You know, when I was deciding on what episode to look at, I was thinking of what character they should be centered around. And yes, Keeping Up with My Joneses was about Bobby smoking, but it was our good propane assistant manager, Hank Rutherford Hill, that really set off Bobby's smoking habit by making him smoke an entire pack. And of course, he couldn't resist the smooth and deadly taste of that Manitoba tobacco to not teach him how to smoke like an American. And well, you know the rest, I tell you what. I once again want to thank my fellow Hooties of the Parliament of Hoots for voting on what episode you want me to talk about. And for a time there, it was a tie between Hank's Bully, the subject of today's video, or Hank's Dirty Laundry. And let me tell you, that's definitely an episode I'm going to discuss at a later date.
What kind of cop are you?
A bad one.
Bobby, for the love of God, get out of the house!
Now then, back to today's review. Ah yes, Hank's Bully, the episode where we get one of the most devious, the most diabolical and clever of Hank's adversaries, Caleb, and his brand of evil tricks and nicknames such as
Dusty old bones full of green dust, dusty old bones full of green dust.
How will Hank deal with this kind of bullying, and who can he turn to? Let's get to the episode and find out, shall we? The episode begins with Peggy looking across the street at the new neighbors and holding a fresh cup of coffee. I like to think that's a nice mug of Hoot's Brew coffee, not a real coffee brand yet.
How are we supposed to introduce ourselves to the neighbors if they never leave the house?
Well, it's been 3 weeks. If we don't do it soon, we're going to be forced into giving them awkward waves and avoiding eye contact until someone dies or moves away.
So wait, you're telling me that they were living there for 3 weeks and you two never bothered to just go across the street and go, oh, I don't know, hi, I'm Peggy Hill. And let's be honest, that's Peggy Hill going to be the one that introduces themselves. And this is my husband, Hank. And Hank will say, hey, and probably go to shake their hand or something. You two better hurry up or else you'll be the last one to introduce yourselves. She sees them leave and adorably tries to introduce herself from outside her sliding glass door, her voice trailing off as they vanish. We see the boys in their usual spot as Hank feels bad about not introducing himself to the new neighbors when Dale is surprised that he never met them, even name-dropping them for us kind viewers at home. What a nice guy Dale is for doing that for us. I mean, for Hank.
Wait, you haven't met Lila and Jim? I just cleaned out all the pests in their attic free of charge. Nothing says welcome to the neighborhood as well as a gunny sack full of dead squirrel.
He's even more surprised that Bill and Boomhauer even met them. Boomhauer calling him out for not taking 2 seconds to just go over there and say, welcome to the neighborhood. The neighbors return home. The boys wave at them as Dale tells Hank off for not knowing them. Hank quickly gets Peg and goes to introduce themselves. Now we know Lila and Jim, thanks to Dale's generous bit of exposition, unlike Hank's, as you all know, info dump back at the kitchen. But who's that kid? Oh no, it's him. Lila offers the last cookie that Bill made when the fiendish Caleb snatches it right off the plate before Hank could. Just one of the many horrible acts perpetrated by the dastardly Caleb. Okay, look, I know that Caleb is just being a bratty kid, so no, I don't really think he's a super villain, but it's so hilarious to see Hank being bullied by a kid younger than Bobby. We see that Hank obviously isn't mad. I mean, he's only 10, and he's already as tall as Bobby? Which is not his fault. You can see he gets his short stature from his grandpa, which was 6'4" before his shins got shot off in Japan. But he's 5 foot even now, so it counts. Hank asks Bobby to toss the football with Caleb. He reluctantly agrees, and Caleb hurls the ball at him.
Bobby didn't limber up.
We get the B plot as Nancy sees the dead squirrels in the refrigerator. Dale saying that the dump raised the prices, so he has to save up the corpses to be economical. Nancy tells him to remove them from the fridge, to which he flops them on the kitchen table, even having a raccoon camping in the freezer. He sees an ad about taxidermy, saying he'll make a killing after he makes his killing them, as Nancy finds a wrapped duck in the fridge. You know, I'm actually going to talk about the B-plot this time. It's actually one of the more entertaining B-plots of the series, in my opinion, and it has the best dynamic duo in the series, Dale and Peggy. So I'll just get it out of the way now. It's not that long. Dale tries to sell his taxidermy squirrels to the boys, and they of course don't want anything to do with them, and putting them on the cooler, Dale? Come on! Hank saying him and the other boys are going to go for a 2-minute walk, and the squirrels better be gone and the cooler sanitized. When Peggy shows up and offers some pointers on how the squirrel should look.
No, I like it. It just seems like it needs more oomph. Who was this squirrel? Was he a climber? A jumper? Did he take chances? There you go. Now there is a story being told about how tasty his little acorn is.
This gives Dale an idea and asks Peggy to help with his taxidermy. We see Dale with a possum perched on his shoulder to hold the cigarette, but it has nothing to do with anything. I just thought it was funny. Dale's impressed by Peggy's craftsmanship, and Peggy compliments Dale's ability to clean out the dead animals and suggests that they both team up and compete in the Heimlich County Taxidermy Contest. I really like Dale and Peggy as a team. They really go well as sort of a dynamic duo, and their crazy personalities really do work together. I wish we got more episodes with them to get into all kinds of crazy shenanigans. When they sign in, they quickly realize that they might just be a tad over their head.
That's gonna be first place, huh? Before you sign up, why don't you two take a look at last year's winner?
Man, there's more than pipe cleaners holding that sucker together.
Dale starts to worry that they won't be able to win, but Peggy reassures him that they just need bigger game. Unfortunately, that's easier said than done. I mean, it's Arlen, Texas. Aside from the occasional whooping crane, you're really not going to find anything that beats a grizzly of that size. While they're waiting for a deer, Dale mistaking a deer sign twice, when Peggy suggests instead of looking out there, they look in their own minds. On the day of the contest, they unveil their masterpiece, a diorama of squirrels depicting the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And it looks pretty good. Until Peggy shows what happens when Ben Franklin's kite gets hit by lightning.
For that, I sincerely apologize.
And that, my dear viewers, was the episode No Taxidermiation Without Representation. It's a really good episode. I love episodes that explore the strange yet great friendship of Peggy and Dale, and how well they get along and help build each other's self-esteem even when they're up against pretty tough odds. Again, I really like when they team up for any crazy plan or whatever. It's a shame we don't see them together in more episodes. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I'll see you when you... Sims? What are you doing here?
Hoots, that's not the episode you're talking about. That was just the B-plot. The very horrifying B-plot.
What are you talking about? That was obviously the episode we were talking about. What do you mean this B-plot you speak of? Pfft, what kind of strange mumbo-jumbo are you referring to?
What are you building?
But I don't want to talk about Caleb!
You promised to talk about Hank's bully, and that's what you're going to do. If I can watch Dale and Peggy's taxidermy animals, then you can talk about that annoying brat. But, you'll have to get Yumi.
Whoa, Sims. Come on, let's be cool. I'll talk about Hank's bully. Just don't get Yumi. She's scary when she's mad. Man, I can't believe I'd rather talk about the B-plot rather than the main plot. Funny, huh, Sims?
Yeah. I'm gonna finish the rest of the review back at my house. Father's been trying to sneak into Rick's garage and mess with his cloning machine. Or wait, sorry. Spoilers.
I wonder what that's all about. I'd subscribe to Yumi Smith's channel if you want to know all about that in the next episode of Squad 8. But now, let's get back to Hank's bully. So after Caleb nearly gives Hank a heart attack in his garage, his own home, his castle, he proceeds to pester Hank and what he's doing, while just staring at him, before messing with his stuff And when Hank is trying to give him some pointers on how to actually properly cut wood, some important information, mind you, Caleb knocks over a can of paint and just stares at it. Look, I get it, he's a kid, but he's just ignoring Hank and making the mess he made even worse. So Hank decides to boot him out of the garage. But that's just the beginning. Hank tries to water his lawn when Caleb shows up and pesters him, riding on his wet grass, running over his garden hose. Caleb then gives Hank the infamous nickname I'm sure everyone is watching the show is already singing to yourself or the poor souls around you.
Dusty old bones full of green dust. Dusty old bones full of green dust.
And I want you to also know this. I'm right there with you. Dusty old bones full of green dust. Dusty old bones full of green dust. Hank is confused about why Caleb is picking on him when Dale has a possum on his shoulder, and he completely ignored him. When Caleb rides by and commits a drive-by insult right to Hank, followed by knocking his beer out of his hand.
My God, you just opened that beer.
Bill recognized that Hank is being bullied as Caleb insults his white shirt and asks how he got his shirt so white, which is really cruel. Hank clearly cares about his whites. I tell you what. By that I mean Peggy does his clothes. Also, it brings up a good question on why Caleb singled out Hank. Maybe it's because out of the four, Hank was the one to introduce themselves last. So he may be acting out that in the form of pestering him. That, or he's just a spoiled brat that never had discipline by Jim or Lila. Bill and Boomhauer, more Bill, teases Hank for having a bully some more, and Hank assures him that adults can't be bullied, and tells him to shut up and get a rag, and help him clean the mess. Yeah, that's right. Hank may not be able to do anything about Caleb, but you two are fair game for his legendary ass-kickings. Hank tries to talk to the mailman about Bill Clinton stamps, and Caleb smacks a paddle ball right in front of them, making the situation awkward, causing the mailman to leave. That mailman sure did dodge a bullet by escaping Caleb before he could attack. Hank decides to go to Jim and Lila and hopes that they could do something about Caleb, and he sees the root cause of why Caleb is the way he is.
Oh, teasing's just his way of showing how much he likes you.
That's just his way of testing you. You know how kids are. He's just so smart. The best thing to do when he gets that way is to ignore him.
Caleb.
Hank isn't even safe in one of his neighborhood picnics, his fortress of solitude, you may say, as Caleb pesters and steals Hank's hat and keeping it from him. I don't know why, but something about his dead stare just enrages me and horrifies me at the same time. Caleb plays keep away with Bill.
Can you believe that, kid?
Keep away!
Yeah.
What the hell are you doing, Bill?
Sorry, Hank. I just got all caught up.
Hank cleans up the wreckage of the picnic embarrassment when Caleb returns to harass him more, digging a hole in his grass with his bike tire. To which Hank has had enough and did what he would have done with Bobby if he acted like this.
You need to learn some manners. Caleb, get off the bike. Now, when you learn a little respect, you'll get this back.
Here we see the look of sheer terror on a child that never had any discipline and being scolded by Hank Hill. You can tell his face that he was holding back that pent-up rage and said it as calmly as he could to not traumatize him, but still stay stern to let him know he's taking that bike. As Hank celebrates that he finally solved the Caleb problem, realizing that he was just a kid who needed some stern guidance. I didn't notice this until I started writing the script, but Peggy's reading a magazine on Wild Game, seeing that the B-plot is still happening behind the scenes. It's a nice touch for me that went unnoticed until just now. He hears someone at the door and thinks it's Caleb, and it is, with the cops. Hank returns the bike, while the two short stacks try to act tough to Hank, not even hearing his side of things, which in normal circumstances, taking a bike from a 10-year-old is a horrible thing to do, but it's like most episodes where everyone goes on the attack at Hank when he was clearly in the right. It's obvious that Caleb isn't some 10-year-old that got their bike taken from Hank. He's a manipulative little brat that's enabled by his parents and lets him do whatever he wants. Because why?
Caleb.
No, that's not how to parent. You can't just let him do what he wants and go, well, that's Caleb, when he's clearly misbehaving. Those two clowns are enablers and just lets Caleb walk over them. It's to the point that Hank is too afraid to go out of his own house. He knows that Caleb is just going to keep pestering him, and his parents won't even correct him and tell him that he's not supposed to do that. That brat even stuck a water hose in his house to spray water, causing Hank to get soaked trying to stop it. Which, do I even need to explain how that can cause water damage and even hurt someone? This isn't small stuff like calling Hank dusty old bones, or throwing pop rocks, or taking his Strickland propane hat, or even destroying his lawns, the thing that he really cares about. This is vandalism, which is illegal. You can make the argument that Caleb making a hole in his lawn can be classified as vandalism, but Hank can just regrow the grass. But what Hank can't grow back is the possible water damage that hose can cause if Hank hadn't have seen or heard the water going off in his house. But no, Hank's in the wrong. While Hank gets a new door, he asks 3 people that are clearly older than teenagers to scare Caleb, but quickly realizes that would be a horrific idea and drives off, leaving them the only safe place to drink in peace is in Hank's kitchen. You know, I noticed something while watching this episode. I miss Luann. He talks about not knowing what to do as they bring up if they were just little, it would be different. All the while, Bobby is seen there on the phone when they get an idea. And you see here how Bobby has grown as a character, not wanting to do the same stuff Caleb did, but only doing it to help out his dad, despite him doing bad stuff in the past and probably in the future. You definitely see the difference between being raised with stern but fair parents and Jim and Lila. We cut to Jim and Lila's house as Caleb is oiling his bike chain when Bobby, with some encouragement from his dad, walks past Caleb and attacks Jim and Lila the same way Caleb attacked Hank, throwing pop rocks, knocking over their trash can, even taking Jim's hat. We see Hank making himself a nice cup of Hoot brew coffee when Jim and Lila knock on a sliding glass door. And I just love this look Hank gives, like, oh, what brings you guys here this fine morning? He gives them a piece of their own medicine and tells them what they told him, but in his own Hank Hill way.
If you're trying to compare Bobby to our Caleb, you're way off base. Bobby is just a troublemaker. Caleb has a precocious sense of adventure. He's expressive. He goes to the gifted magnet school.
Lila, look, listen to me. You can throw all the fancy words you want at Hank, saying Caleb has a precocious sense of adventure isn't gonna change the fact that he's the troublemaker. Also, the gifted magnet school sounds like an alternative school for troublemakers like Caleb to go to when they're unfit for public school. It's obvious he's trying to make Caleb out to be an angel to hide that she's partly to blame for him turning out as bad as he is. Bobby appears behind them with a squirt gun with a mysterious liquid in it and tells them if they don't stop Caleb from harassing him, Bobby will show them what said mysterious liquid is. Which I guarantee you it's either soda or just water with food coloring. But Jim and Lila don't need to know that. Jim makes a few sad attempts to get Caleb to stop riding on Hank's lawn, and after some encouragement from Bobby, finally gets his dad voice.
I mean it, son. Get off the grass!
Caleb finally gets off the grass, and Lila acts like Jim just struck their child as they leave for their home, and are never seen again, because who cares? That's the end of the episode. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments what you think of the review. Do you agree with what I said? Disagree? You fellow Hooties feedback means so much, and it's great to hear from you guys, fellow Hooties and new viewers. If you haven't already, please do like and subscribe and join the Parliament of Hoots today. And as always, I'll see you guys when you visit the Allery again, and I give my hoot in the dark. Thank you so much for watching. Join the Parliament of Hoots today and hit the bell to let you know when I go live or my next video is up. Don't forget to like the video and share with your fams. Let me know what you guys think of this episode in the comment section below. Check out these 2 videos, it'll take you to more of my content. Don't forget to follow me on my other platforms, Twitter and PlayStation Network. I might get a Twitch sometime, but in the near future. Until then, thank you guys so much for watching as I gave my Hoot in the Dark.